anticipating is I've got too much stuff to tell you. Way too much material. That's almost always the case. It really is the case now because we're going to be slipping into a time period that is longer than, well, not really, longer than any we've covered so far. But it's not equivalent to what we did 2 years ago. We talk about Rome, that's about 1,000 years. This is going to be another 1,000 years. That goes on and on and on. And yet with Rome, if you remember, you look at the beginning of Rome, the beginning of the Roman Republic, the end of the Roman Empire, there's a lot in that world that just hasn't changed much. One gigantic change, of course, was what? Christianity. Jesus did. The effects of what Jesus did is a lot of what we're going to be looking at this week. Yes, ma'am?
When you move away from the central mic, it drops off.
So your message to me is?
Don't move away from the central mic.
Yes, please do. I think what's not going to happen is I'm not going to stand right here for 2 hours this morning. That is not going to take place. That won't even happen when I say one sentence. There we go. Good?
Yeah.
Good until something happens. And then we'll I was saying something, I'm sure it was. Which was, this time period is marked dramatically by the church. We are not going to get very far away from Christianity at all. Look, you've got, or do you have? You don't have them. Do you have your notebooks already? Got your older thing? Okay. Yeah, I've got the box. Yeah, all those need to go out too. I'm sorry, I've got too much stuff. Well, you're not going to just rely on hearing it and remembering it. We've got little folders for you. So that way, if you nod off, you won't miss anything. Just read it. If I nod off, you won't miss anything. This has a schedule up in the front. First page is the schedule. It is highly unlikely that we will actually stick specifically to that schedule. In fact, I know already this morning I'm shooting to actually get off that schedule before this hour is over. In fact, I want to actually slip into the second hour before I'm done this morning because I've got too much in the second hour. I'm stalling in effect. I'm actually waiting for a mark. Let me do a couple things here. When you get your notebook, open up to the first page and let's take a look at some terms here. We use the term Middle Ages. I'm not crazy about it. I didn't come up with it. Historians like to do this. They like to come up with labels for time periods like what? The Middle Ages, the Renaissance. We're going to look before the week is over at the Reformation. The Industrial Age, the Modern Age, that's a vague one. Space Age, there's all kinds of things. Historians love to do that for some reason. It's just for convenience sake more than anything else. They've done it with the Middle Ages, but the Middle Ages is such an awkward term. I get where it comes from, and you'll see it on your first page, about 2/3 down the left-hand column. You'll see it comes from the Latin, as almost everything for these people does. 2 words, medium, which is a familiar term for us, meaning middle, and an avium, meaning age, middle age. Isn't that clever? Now, middle age. Well, we say middle age, some of us think back, and, a long time ago or not a long time ago, depending on who you are. But that's not what this means, of course. This means it's in the middle. Well, how awkward. Because that makes it dependent on what? Well, 2 other things. What came before, what comes after. What comes before is in part what we looked at 2 years ago, the ancient world. It's the kind of thing that you study when you study the Old Testament. Everybody here is familiar with the Egyptians, the Israelites, Hittites, Phoenicians, Greeks, the Romans, all these kinds of folks. That's the ancient world. Well, the ancient world ends when we finished up 2 years ago with killing off the Roman Empire. Now we're headed into something else. Now, we're going to skip ahead to what comes after that, and that's what? The ancient world, Middle Ages. Well, the Renaissance is technically going to overlap the Middle Ages technically. It's kind of the tail end of it. There's a lot going on that shifts us out of the Middle Ages. But the next one takes us down to our own time. The modern world. These just aren't very good labels. They just don't tell us much, do they? And the problem with the Middle Ages as a term is, as a label for an era in history, is the longer time passes, the more the Middle Ages does what? It slips further into the past. And then that end time, not end time, but that third era, the modern world, becomes a vaguer term. Because we're using the word modern to describe ourselves, and then people 100 years ago, 300 years ago, 500 years ago, how much affinity do you have with people 500 years ago? Not much. You may actually have more than you think, but we just don't think in terms of us and them. We're like this, historically. Are we? There's a lot of water under the bridge between 1500 and 2017. But we got to call it something. So how much longer we'll deal with Middle Ages as a term, I don't know. Until some clever guy comes up with something else. Now let me give you another way of looking at this. This is something that, did you send me this article? I think you did. I think you said, well, it's the article with the guy that's going to use different terms for it. Yeah, I think you said that to me sometime back in the spring. It's a clever way to look at it. Here's one guy's suggestion. He suggests that we end the ancient world at 380 AD. 380 because in that year, the emperor of the Roman Empire, Theodosius, who we'll look at in just a second, very quick, he declares Christianity to be the religion of the Roman Empire, the official religion of the Roman Empire, the only sanctioned official religion of the Roman Empire, 380 AD. What that basically creates then is what he calls the era of Christendom. And he continues that all the way from 380 AD to 1555 AD. We have the Peace of Augsburg. Now, we'll look at that later in the week. The Peace of Augsburg basically is an agreement between European states that says from this point on, because Protestants are tired of killing Catholics and Catholics are tired of killing Protestants, from this point on, all leaders of states in Europe are going to decide what you are. And from now on, if the king is a Catholic, then this state is a Catholic state. If the king is a Protestant, then this state is a Protestant state. Now, you may choose to be a Catholic or Protestant state, but good luck with that. Now, that still sounds like Christianity is part of the equation, but only technically. Because what happens here is church becomes secondary. Church goes to the bottom. State rises to the top. And this guy says, you now call this era, which is the modern era, the era of the state. Because then it really isn't about Christianity. It really becomes about what the state is. And in the modern world equivalent, modern world era of the state, it's all about the state. Doesn't matter if the state is. Doesn't matter if the guy running the state is religious or not. If he's a religious king, then this is a religious state. If he's a pagan monarch, then that's what the state is. If he's the king of France, if he's the president of the United States, if he's Emperor Napoleon, if he's Marx or Soviet Union, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it's monarchy, democracy, republic, communist state, doesn't matter. Because really the point is it's about the state. I'm okay with that. I like that. That's serviceable. I don't think it'll ever happen. But you see what I'm saying? My point really is this era we're dealing with, call it what you want. This is an era about Christendom. Now we've got a lot of people who mess that up, meaning they misuse Christianity. That's what I mean. We may look at it in other ways that they mess it up. We can talk about that, and we will. But that's kind of the intro here for page 1. Now, because we've had a long period of time, this is the right-hand column on page 1, historians subdivide this 1,000-year period. There's so many things happening that they're going to tell you, okay, it doesn't make any sense to just call it the same thing. So they're going to divide this 1,000-year era into 3 time periods. We'll see this again, left and right-hand column. The early Middle Ages, which we're going to kick into in just a second. That's another term we use, right? The early Middle Ages or the Dark Ages. We'll see why it's dark in just a second. The early Middle Ages, basically, and we're just rounding off for convenience, 500 or so AD to about 1000 AD. Then around 1000 AD, depending on who you are, where you are, we slip into what's called the High Middle Ages. We've got the early Middle Ages and the High Middle Ages. It's not the Middle Ages, because that would sound so silly, and it was or not. But that's about 1000 to 1300. Now that's a great run. Of the three eras, if you ask which one you want to live in, I'd say none. Thank you very much. But if I got to live in one, well, put me in Paris. I'll live in the High Middle Ages. Because there's a lot happening. A lot of good stuff is taking place. The High Middle Ages is the era of ascendancy. This is when things are just going amazingly different, and they're coming out of the Dark Ages, and it's about literacy and building and creating urban centers again, and law and order, and centralized government, all kinds of stuff. Cathedrals are constructed. It's a fantastic era, absolutely fantastic era. Things those people accomplish is just amazing. Just cathedrals alone is amazing. So the High Middle Ages. Then the third era is 1300 to 1500. The late Middle Ages is pretty clever, huh? The early and the late, and then we get the high and the center. The late Middle Ages, things go off the cliff. For one reason especially. What's the one scourge of the late Middle Ages? The plague. The Black Death. Rips these people to shreds. We have no concept, we'll talk about it later, we have no concept of what these people faced during the Black Death. I'm the kind of guy that when I'm walking into Walmart, I did this yesterday. I'm walking into Walmart, the guy coming in, he's just coughing and coughing and coughing. I don't know what he's got, but I don't want it. I'm that guy. Put me in the Middle Ages, I'd probably just die of paranoia. But what a horrific era. Just crushes these people. So much of the stuff they created just gets, when you kill off a third of the population, in general, and then in urban areas, you're losing 60, 70, 80% of folks. You can't recover from that next week. Okay. When you throw in wholesale wars like 100 Years' War, it just devastates these folks. So we'll talk about that. So the late Middle Ages, in effect, is a step back. Now there's other things happening during the late Middle Ages too that are good. So we mentioned the Renaissance already. That's part of it. Amazing stuff in the Renaissance. That's not just about art, too. That's about learning and literacy and academics and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, now those are three areas we're going to be looking at. By the time we come out of this, I'll look at the last paragraph. You will see that tremendous change has taken place. We have the creation of modern European states. There is now an England. There is a France. There is a Germany, sort of. There's a bunch of them. And they just kind of collected together in one big umbrella. There's a Spain. There's Portugal. There's not yet an Italy. It's still about city-states down there, but what fantastic stuff they're accomplishing those city-states. But powerful monarchies. Columbus, we'll talk about later in the week, discovers the New World. The import of that is just the ripples caused by that. We could almost say continue to today. Man, it's hard to quantify that. Portugal sailing around Africa, point being they find another way to get to the east. This connection, these international geographic connections are just fantastic stuff. And then things like gunpowder being invented. One element of war. It's hard to come up with something more dramatic that changes warfare on this planet than gunpowder. You can say nuclear weapons and all that, that's fine. But the sea change caused by gunpowder is just huge. And again, we still feel the impacts of that today. So there's a lot going to be going on here. All right? Okay, let's drop in then. And now, the next three pages I want to breeze through, in part because I think we kind of covered some of this 2 years ago. And I know you remember everything we did from 2 years ago. I'm actually trying to remember whether you did or not. If I can't remember whether I told you or not, then you're off the hook for whether you remember or not. So that's how it actually works. But what we're looking at here is the creation of the circumstance that make this reality. All right? And we're going to describe what I think this is in just a second. Of course, it's the collapse of the Roman Empire. We won't worry about the reasons here, other than the broad-based reason that matters dramatically, and that's German invasion. Now, you have a handout here that does this. Okay? Let's take a look at that. Middle Ages, we've already got our 3 eras. We divide them off, early, high, late Middle Ages. Now, what I've been describing here is true of the western half of the Roman Empire. Italy, west of Italy, draw a line, not a straight one, but draw a line. West of it, that's the western half of the empire. East of it, that's the eastern half of the empire. Did I draw the right place? No. No, it'd be east of Italy, not west of it, because it includes Rome, the western half of the empire. Well, there you go.
Do you need those?
Not now, but I might another day. Hello, everybody. What I've been describing is the western half of the empire. Now, you remember 2 years ago, the eastern half of the empire continues on. It does not collapse. It does not fall apart. It does not unravel. It goes on. And the eastern half of the empire will come to be known, and this is where historians step in and say, we'll name this era, thank you very much. They call it the Byzantine Empire. Now, if you were living in the Byzantine Empire at that time, up to a point, you wouldn't know the term. You wouldn't have any relevance to it. You'd say, I live in Rome. I'm a Roman. The Roman Empire. Well, that's fine. That's fine. Historians are going to, well, no you don't. That's how historians do. But that's the Byzantine Empire, which continues on. Now that's an empire that will now go on for another 1,000 years. Until we get to, you can see the specific year, 1453. What happens in 1453? Yeah, Wall of Constantinople. It's a big deal. The ripples from that are gigantic. In come the Turks, in come the Muslims, and they just rip that city apart. Blast it to smithereens. Huge siege cannon. Cannonballs made out of granite, not this big, weigh a couple 100 pounds. I mean, it's just dead. Of course, the walls are 1,000 years old, so they just fall apart. With breaches in the walls wide enough where they just ride in the city on horseback. And then enslave folks and tear up things and this stuff. And turn churches into mosques and all kinds of things. But that half of the empire continues on. Now, that's what we've got here for the next few pages, and I want to breeze through, because what we're interested in mostly in the course of this week is what happens in the West. Again, the Germans come in, tear things up in the western half of the empire. We'll look at this on pages 2 and 3. I'm doing this very quickly to get to some other stuff. We say German tribes now. We're talking about, by our view, early pagan stuff. They would say they have religion, thank you very much. They have gods and goddesses and all kinds. So you see that mostly over on page 2, the 4th, 5th paragraph down. Some of the days of the week that we actually use today are named after German gods. Wotan for Wednesday, Thor for Thursday, Hugh for Tuesday, Freya for Friday. But they come ripping in. Of course, it's about just geographic pressure. It's about food, and it's about invasion from the east. Anyway, the Huns come in. They're not Germanic. They're Asiatic. They come tearing in on horseback. And they hit these German tribes from the east. And that pushes the German tribes into the Roman Empire and the Visigoths and folks like that. And then that doesn't go well for what should be pretty obvious reasons. By now we're getting down here, I'm on page 3, to the late 4th century. And we have, 4th paragraph down, you're going to see the Emperor Theodosius. Now, I just mentioned the Emperor Theodosius a second ago. Emperor Theodosius is going to be the emperor who in 380 will establish Christianity as the single official religion of the empire. That's our guy, okay? Now he's going to fight off these folks for a while, and then we've got another Visigothic leader that comes tearing in 395. That's a Visigothic leader named Alaric. And he will come into Rome, sack Rome in 410. And of course others are going to do it too. You know, once it happens, well, you're going to sack Rome, then we need to sack Rome. So you see the next paragraph down, the Vandals will come in 455. So Rome gets sacked in 410. Rome gets sacked again in 455. Now this, think about it. For hundreds and hundreds of years, Rome had not been sacked since before the days of the Republic. And now it's every other day of the week. I mean, you go to these folks, look, you could be living in Rome in 410, survive that invasion by a Germanic tribe, and still be living in Rome 45 years later, and it gets sacked again. And you got to think after a while, well, for Pete's sake, maybe we need to get out of here. Maybe we need to, you know. So sacking Rome becomes a thing to do. Now, as these invasions take place, these Germans come into the western half of the empire. Sometimes they stay put. Then they see the advantages, they see towns, they see the conflict. They decide, well, maybe we should stay. We invaded it, why invade and steal their gold and take off? They decide, we'll hang around. So they're going to establish kingdoms from time to time. We're talking about Ostrogoths, East Goths, Visigoths, West Goths, the Burgundians, the Almanis, the Franks, the Angles, the Saxons, all these folks. For the most part, these kingdoms they establish don't stick. They don't hang around. There are only two that are going to matter long term. You see these over in the right-hand column on page 3. The Angles and the Saxons who invade in what becomes Angleland, which we would say England, they stay. And guess what? That's where a lot of you come from. My wife, for Christmas this year, I'm just this romantic, I bought her a DNA test kit. I know, ladies, you talk to your husband about Christmas for next year. Honey, I know, I got a DNA kit. Well, we did that, she spit in the vial, and that's all the detail we need, and sent that off. Came back. Now, for years in her family, there's been this story about an Indian. Grandmother? Great-grandmother?
Grandmother. And we actually visited reservations.
Yeah, they actually went to where supposedly this gal was from. There's a name and everything. So she's actually, the big thing we're trying to determine in this DNA test kit is how much Indian does she have? Okay? Well, hang on. So weeks go by. The test kit says 6 to 8 weeks. It was 11 weeks later. Apparently it was 6 plus 8. We get this thing back. Here are the results. My wife is 59% Great Britain.
The tree didn't branch very much.
Yeah, well, we were shocked. 59% Great Britain. 23% Ireland. Apparently these people didn't get around very far. That's a total of what? 80? 82? 82. 8% Western Europe. Well, they didn't go far for vacations, did they? That leaves 10%, which was, what, some vague other...
1%
well,
Jewish.
Yeah, 1% Jewish. Who was that guy? and then 1% Pacific Islander. So apparently they did take a long vacation. Went to Hawaii and who's that guy? No Native American at all. So there you go. So much for this lady. Debunking, yeah. Now it can be a recessed gene and stuff. There still could be, but here's my point. 90% Western European. British Isles, Ireland. Anybody done a DNA test kit like that? You done it? What'd you get?
Well, I thought I was 1/16 India.
Okay,
I
yeah.
had none.
Yeah, it can be a recessed kind of thing. It's hard to.
I had two step great-grandmothers that were, but they were step great-grandmothers.
Ah, there you go. There you go. Did you do one?
Scandinavian and Western Europe.
Yeah. Go ahead.
1605, Simon Willard, Portborough, England. 1 million descendants. One of the descendants baptized Benjamin Franklin.
The Benjamin Franklin, or just a guy named Benjamin Franklin?
So there's like 49% Irish and 2% Jewish,
49% Irish, 2% Jewish.
Western Jewish.
Western Jew. Western Irish Jew.
Part of the number of descendants from.
Yeah, my wife was a Doty, Doty on the Mayflower, so she has at least that in there. But today, do you know how many descendants there are of people on the Mayflower in the United States? 30 million. 30 million. Almost 1/10 of the population of this nation came on the Mayflower. Well, that's a lot of people have babies pretty fast, is what that is. But anyway, look, here's part of my point. As we talk about these folks, the Germans, the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes, the Danes, these kinds of folks, these are your people. That's where you come from.
How about Indian?
About Indian? Well, we're not going to say too much about Indian before we will get to Indians. Yeah, once we get to Columbus, we'll introduce an Indian.
Have a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm sure we've got Native American blood in all kinds of places we don't know about. But I want you to just remember that as we deal with these folks, these are your people. Be better and different, these are your folks. Even when we get to a point where, say 1066, we talk about the Battle of Hastings and the Norman invasion of England. Okay, this is Normans invading England that was Saxon. Well, they're all the same people. They all came from the same place. They all came from the Scandinavian countries. So, talk about family squad. But anyway, now the only two kingdoms that matter here long term are going to be the Anglo-Saxon kingdom in England. That one's going to be long term for obvious reasons. Of course, until we get to 1066, and the Normans come in. And then the other one's going to be in what we call Gaul, what we call France today. That's going to be the Franks. That's what we get from France ultimately. That'll be the Frankish kingdom. We're going to go into more detail in the second hour today about the Frankish kingdom. We're going to look at Charlemagne, who is just absolutely fantastic. I don't know that I would like to spend any time with him, but a fascinating guy. Now, let's skip over here to 4 and 5. Again, we're going to kind of breeze through the next few pages, because this takes us into the Eastern Empire. I don't want to dote on that. These folks are kind of they're out of the direction that we're headed here, which is in Western Europe. But I do want to deal with it just a bit in terms of the Eastern Empire hanging on. Part of this, remember, is about a Roman Empire that is a Christianized Roman Empire. This is where the state is paying for church construction. This is a church-state relationship. Not just the emperor saying, we sanction the church, or I sanction the church. We support the church. We're going to build buildings. We're going to pay for clerics. We're going to pay for monks. We're going to pay for this and that in the church. So this is a direct connection between church and state. Now, Constantine, of course, establishes Constantinople. That becomes the Eastern capital. It survives. The Eastern half survives for a variety of reasons. One is they're out of the way of the Germans. They're going to be invaded by the Germans. It's too far. Also, I think what helps them is the geography. They're in a good place. As far as trade connections, you can't be in a better place at this time in history, in the West. Connections between, they provide the conduit, I think, of trade between Europe and Asia. Everything funnels from both places to here. Remember, we don't have a lot of ships here that can make a journey that far. As we don't see Marco Polo until 1200s. He's a pretty rare guy in his time. So this is about trade, again, that funnels through Constantinople. They don't debase their coinage. That's one thing they did in the West repeatedly. We'll see in just a minute. They have a gold coin, 65-grain gold coin, pure gold, called the Byzantine. They never monkey with it. They never change it. They never debase it. They don't change the content of it. It stays consistent. If you want a consistently used coin everybody will take in that world, it's the Byzantine. That's a big deal. I think some good leadership, too. Justinian, I think, is in the center of that. Now look, in Constantinople, this is just a new Rome, in fact. Because it looks like Rome. If you were blindfolded, thrown into the back of a van, and driven to a dark, unknown location, and they take you out of the van and blindfold you, and you're from Rome, and you're suddenly in Constantinople, and they say, where are you? Well, I'm in Rome. Or it looks like Rome. Well, it's Constantinople. It's very Romanized. Now, it's going to become a Greek city eventually. Here, as Greek takes over in that part of the world, in which they never die out. So you've got a hippodrome, and you've got all kinds of buildings and those kinds of things. Now, the guy responsible for some of this, at least, is going to be the guy you see on page 5, Justinian. Justinian is a fantastic ruler, Christian ruler. I should be throwing on some pictures here, so let's do that. There we go. This is what we're talking about here. Here's Constantinople here. Okay? We're talking about everything that is purple or dark pink, or mauve, whatever that color is. That's the Byzantine Empire at that point in time. Right? It's going to expand. It's going to retract. It's a very organic state. Here, it's kind of at its point of maximum expansion. Justinian's the guy here. In the 6th century, 500s. He's going to do fantastic stuff. He's a strong leader. Once they have a revolt that he survives and puts down, which he was ready to abandon the town when that happened. But his wife said, no, you're the emperor, you're going to hang in there. So he did, and he turned it around. But once that happened, he's got solid control. But you basically have a guy who is, in his reign, we're going to see the Latin kind of passing out, the Greek takes over, this becomes kind of a Greekified, almost Hellenistic state. Again, they still think themselves as Roman, but it's not about Latin now. It's going to be increasingly about the Greek. And that will stay the case until we get really all the way down to the collapse of the city. He's going to build churches. He's going to build fantastic churches. He's going to build, there he is, by the way. That is a simple place. He's obviously the guy in the center. That's good old Justinian there. He will build, again, multiple churches. The main one is that. Anybody been there, by the way? I bet this is a group where we got people who've been there. Anybody want to do testimonial about the Hagia Sophia or the Hagia Sophia?
Just going to say we were there, and it is astounding.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Even today.
Yeah, it was the largest church on the planet at the time. A gigantic, no dome on the planet that size. Forget the dimensions, but from top of the dome to the floor, I think it's equivalent to about 10 stories. It's just a wonderful piece of architecture. And again, the state's paid for. Now, it has these towers here now because when the Muslims come in 1453, they turned that church into a mosque. It's not a mosque now, it's a museum now. But they, of course, add the tower, add the minarets, because it would become a mosque instead. Then again, this is all being done by Justinian, so fantastic leadership here. He changes the law code, or actually creates a law code and be consistent. Just a small, it's really pretty cool stuff. Now, that's about all I want to do with the East. We're going to be focusing for the rest of our time, the rest of the week, virtually, on the West. Now again, we've got these different kingdoms established by these different groups. Again, the only two that matter long term will be this one, the Anglo-Saxon kingdom, and then the kingdom of the Franks, which again becomes France, where it's way down the road. Well, I've got this group over here in the end that I don't want to offend by staying over there all day. So, the kingdom of the Franks, the kingdom of the Anglo-Saxons. The rest of these will fade away in a fairly short period of time. Okay? Now, let's talk about the Dark Ages. Page 6. You have a collapse of authority. You have a lawless world. You think about the centralized power of the Romans fading away. weaker and weaker and weaker. All of the structures that made Rome fantastic, roads and bridges and aqueducts to deliver water to Rome, and those kinds of things. These huge buildings, arenas and amphitheaters and racetracks and, you know, on and on and on. Circus Maximus and Hippodrome, those kinds of things. They just fade away. Because what we have here is a world that is going to be dominated by chaos. Nobody really in charge. Not on a huge scale. This is going to be a world that was so accustomed to centralized power and authority emanating from Rome. And that's gone. Okay, what replaces it? Well, not much. We can't imagine the kind of world that this creates. We are so accustomed to law and order and security and structure and safety, communication, and somebody keeping up the highways. You get irritated when there's orange cones, you know, when we go down the interstate, but, you know, look, they won't stay there forever. Our world is just so unchaotic. It's hard for us to get this. Just Rome itself. Now I want to look at a typo here on the beginning of the fourth paragraph. It says 10 million in Rome. That's not right. There's no ancient city that's got 10 million people. It's 1 million people in Rome. But 1 million people in one city. Doesn't matter what you're talking about. 1 million people in one city. And think about all the things it requires to keep a million people city running, which Rome did efficiently and effectively. Water delivery, trash pickup, sewage system, and apartment buildings, and social structures, and games, and politics, and food distribution, on and on and on. And then that just starts fading away. Remember, Rome as a city was always dependent on welfare. It was always a place dependent on food coming from the outside to support the city. Something being done on the outside to support the city. You go and rip into some other people's backyard and take them over and steal their lunch money. You bring that back to Rome. You take over Egypt, you get a hold of their granaries, you haul all that back to Rome and feed your people. That all stops. So the question becomes, how does a 1 million person city, I'm talking just the city of Rome, much less the whole empire, how does a 1 million person city continue to function? It doesn't. People start leaving. They abandon it. Wouldn't you? How long would you stay in a place where it's not safe, it's not secure, it's not clean, nothing's getting taken care of, there's no building, things are falling apart, unraveling before your eyes? It doesn't take very long. Abandoned city. You see in that paragraph, 1 million person Rome becomes eventually 50,000 person Rome. Think about that. What's a 1 million person city in this country today? How many people in Denver? How many people in Kansas City doesn't have 1 million? Denver got 1 million people? No? Memphis?
Yeah. Asheville.
Pick one. Make that city function. Make Denver function today with 30,000 people living in it. Make Kansas City today function with 20,000 people in it. Make 1 million person Memphis function with 50,000 people in it. With the equivalent population of Grand Island 40 miles to our west. It can't. There's no way. So things just become almost post-apocryphal. You know what I mean? I've seen these movies. Planet of the Apes. I've blown it all. Poor Statue of Liberty gets beat up in every one of these films. The Book of Eli. Post-apocalyptic world. Buildings are tearing apart. People are using buildings for quarries. They're taking stone, slate, slabs, and the roof has a hole in the roof. Go to this abandoned big old building that nobody cares about anymore. Big old hunk of slate, take it off. And things just start getting seedy, and dirty. Nothing works. And trash in the streets. Wind blows in dirt. Things start to get covered up. Cattle in the form. That kind of stuff. This gets rough.
What more than anything else contributed to the lack of support for them to keep it going?
Well, the empire just doesn't rise. The empire's falling apart. The empire gets invaded.
No protection.
No protection. No law and order. You come down to just two words, law and order. Law and order. Order could mean all kinds of things, including who picks up the trash. Look, if nobody's maintaining the system, nobody's maintaining the roads, nobody's maintaining the bridges, nobody's maintaining the aqueducts. Those aqueducts go on from mile to mile to mile. Now, it doesn't take anything at all for an aqueduct to become non-functional. If up on the top, weeds start growing in the stones, and finally, one stone falls out, then where's that water going? If it's even flowing at all, it goes outside. It's not going to get to Rome. Where's the water coming from? Well, it's not. So this is going to be a rough. No utilities. No cops. No sewage system. Nobody's picking up trash. Nothing's happening here. Nobody's cleaning the streets. Nobody's collecting taxes. Finally, a silver lining. Nobody's collecting taxes.
All because the army fell apart.
Oh, the army falls apart, centralized authority falls apart. The Germans come in and they rip up more than they fix. They take more than they plant. Which in part means money. If all you came into town to do was to steal the gold, then when you leave, your banks have been robbed.
Just they were once so powerful.
Oh, yeah.
Europe.
Yeah, this doesn't happen overnight. Some of this is a dribs and drabs process. Some of this is about repeated invasions and all kinds of things. And so this goes on for a couple hundred years. But this is going to result in a world in which things are crummy. And no schools. What makes this such a dark era? Part of it is a lack of learning, a lack of literacy. People can't read. Or people even forget how to read. They forget even basic knowledge. The Romans used coal. We reach a point where people in Western Europe, they don't even remember that they used to do that. How do you lose information like that? Well, we know how you lose it. This person knows it. This person, you don't tell this person, this guy ain't got a clue. Transmission of knowledge and information, we take that for granted. It's hard for us to lose information today. Isn't it? It's so easy to access information. And books. Think about a world where learning doesn't happen and literacy doesn't happen. Almost everybody can't read. That may sound like the world we're headed into. I don't know. You teach long enough, you think, gosh, does anybody read anymore? And again, a lack of central everything. Where's the food coming from? Well, increasingly what's happening here is people are retrenching. Instead of this giant state of Rome, it's about local control, taking care of mine, protecting my own, staying put, a lack of travel. The roads aren't safe anyway. Roads aren't repaired. If you travel from here to there, 50 miles, you're probably going to get robbed if you can even get there. So there's scarcity, food shortages, high infant mortality. No, it was, but it's worse here. You've got coins almost ceasing to exist. People take. Remember, I said the Byzantines hang on because they got a Byzant. They don't monkey with. These people take their coins. There's shortages anyway. They take their coins and they start debasing them. They had other metals too, not silver and gold. Or they'll take the coin and they'll file around the edges, and do a collection of, filings and stuff. Then they try to pass off the coin. Wait a minute, did these used to be bigger? Did you even have coins? So a world in which it becomes more about barter. Well, that's not primitive economies, this thing. Then you throw, yeah.
Comment on the lack of literacy and dependence upon orality.
Well, yeah, he's asking about orality as opposed to literacy. I can't go, I don't know all about that, but yeah, I mean, just logic says, if all you have, again, it's the transmission of information. If you're not going to read it somewhere, then you have to tell me. How do we know anything? Well, it's being told enough stuff. It's being told enough times. It's communicate, and not just me to you, but how do we communicate to the rest of these people? You can't print anything. You can't write anything down. Yes, ma'am. Am I getting close? Do you have more you want to do with that? I mean, yeah. These are just things we don't give two thoughts to. Yeah.
There was a movie called Fahrenheit 409.
451.
451.
Yeah, Ray Bradbury.
All books were burned.
Mhm.
And if you remember that.
Yeah.
And when the man got to the forest, no one had to answer. Each person was a book. And they would have younger people sitting in front of them. And they would be quoting, teaching these people this book.
Yeah.
So that literature would not die.
Yeah.
That knowledge would not.
Yeah.
And all of I saw it 150 years ago,
Yeah.
of course. But in all my life, I've never forgotten that there really was a message in
Yeah.
that we cannot let
Yeah.
knowledge go.
Yeah, the slender thread of literacy, this slender thread of civilization that can be cut at any moment. Yeah.
I stepped out for a minute, so this may have already been brought up. And it's one of my, I bring it up a lot because it's one of my favorite ideas. The whole concept of after the burning of the library in Alexandria, and then you got this whole thing, particularly between 1000 and 1100. When you know we're talking about morality, this whole thing, it becomes fashionable for scholars to read silently. Prior to that, scholars, priests, much of the clergy, they read aloud, even when they were alone.
Even when you're by yourself, you read
Yeah,
aloud.
because it was the message of God to reverberate through your chest,
Yeah.
as the voice of God to be shared with others. When that becomes the fashion, then literacy just drops off like crazy, because you not only don't hear it, you don't have people communicating with you.
Yeah.
And so it's a problem.
Yeah. Maybe the only good part about this is people have to create extraordinarily sharp memories, much sharper than yours, than mine, than most people think. Because we don't have to have a good memory, do we? We write it down. We go check later.
I was just thinking of Islam and Muhammad. It just seemed like Islam has its birth from the seed of illiteracy. Muhammad could not read or write.
Oh, okay.
The things that he learned were told to him.
Sure.
Verbal.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I would say most religions begin with oral tradition, and then somebody eventually writes something down. Yeah. I think that's how the early church was. Go ahead.
You're talking about transmission of information, and it goes to my mind, like, people are changing our history books. And, I mean, we've got some challenges in Texas right now, where they're, you know, what I'm talking about.
They're always fussing about textbooks in Texas.
Yeah. But I'm talking
But
about,
not for, for good reason. Go ahead.
I'm talking about, you know, what they're transmitting as being whole.
Yeah.
And then also, when you said a while ago, I just thought about if they keep the Word of God pure
Yeah.
in their
Which we're going to talk about,
transmission,
yes.
it's going to, I mean, that could keep us together.
Yeah. The difference being that if Texas sanctions the wrong textbook, you can always find an alternative. Imagine a world in which you're only told one thing, and that's all you know. And we're going to talk about that in part in just a second when it comes to the church.
When you were talking about the fall of the Roman Empire, I thought of perestroika in Russia. You know, and their ruble went from $1.65 to 1,800 rubles for a dollar.
Well, it was always, yeah.
In 2 years.
Yeah.
Because the central.
Yeah. It was always artificially propped up anyway,
But-
sure.
But that
sure.
didn't come from the outside, that came from the.
From inside, yeah. Oh,
But-
I think civilizations have destroyed themselves as often as had somebody on the outside do it.
Everything fell apart though, building, construction, road,
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
That-
Everything,
Because no central.
right, exactly. Now, let me do it real quickly here, the rest of page 6. Again, we've got little places, little villages, little enclaves of folks, little groups of folks, banding together locally. They know each other, they trust each other, they trade with each other, barter trade with each other. Again, on a very localized economy. Obviously, this is ultimately creating the world, the feudal world. It's about small places of control, some guy in charge locally, some lord eventually, or nobleman, or baron, whoever it might be. But look, in these little communities, even food production fades off, because you've got in these little communities, the way they farm, they don't have enough animals, not enough livestock. Without livestock producing manure, plopping that manure in the fields as a fertilizer, which causes, hay to grow and those kinds of things. If that's not happening, then grain production slacks off, drops, hay production drops off, so you can't feed animals because there's not enough hay, and it's just a vicious circle, vicious cycle. So we've got a lot of food shortages and even cannibalism, and kids are dying with an 80% infant mortality rate. And again, the lack of learning, and everything. I mean, it just creates a crazy twilight world in which almost nothing can be relied on. Now, that's pretty dark. There is a little glimmer here of hope, and that's the church. What we're looking at here on page 7 is early church. Again, most of us, I think, kind of filter this in terms of first century and what we see in the book of Acts and those kinds of things. But the church goes on. There's a period there where the church stayed very simple, the kind of simplicity that we still lay claim to from Scripture. Maybe initially that was because that's what they were instructed. Maybe initially they thought, well, Jesus is coming back tomorrow anyway, so there's no reason for any real elaborate structure to any of this. Let's just keep it pretty simple. Time passed on, and with the passage of time, I think, maybe we need to get a little bit more structure here. Maybe we need to get a little more, look, I think part of what's taking place here is, as we have, because we all know the phrase power doesn't function in a vacuum. As Roman imperial power is dropping off, plan or no plan, I think ultimately what happens here is the church fills some of the breach. They replace Roman imperial power with church ecclesiastical power. And that's where we start seeing the development here of a much more complex church structure. We also see division here within the church. We'll have, of course, by the time we get to the Roman Empire, and long before, those days of elders and deacons, it's kind of long past. These terms that elders, bishops, presbyters, those kinds of terms, they started applying those to different things. So local elder is one thing. A bishop over a larger community in a city of churches is another deal. A patriarch over a region. An archbishop over a region. A patriarch over a larger thing of geography. That becomes much more the norm here. So we get these patriarchs at the top of the heap in Rome and Antioch, and Jerusalem, and Alexandria, and Constantinople, these kinds of places. And of course, you know how men are. Next, you're going to have one who said, well, as long as you're creating hierarchy here, let's figure out who the real top dog is. Of course, the guy in Rome thinking, well, I got a leg up on this one. I'm in Rome. I'm the patriarch in Rome, I must be the top dog. Of course, the guy in Constantinople is, well, Rome's passé, Rome's had it today, all about Constantinople, no, so I'm the guy. And of course, this de facto becomes the beginning of the division of the church, east and west. Just as the empire would divide east and west, we're going to see the church divide east and west. So we'll have the patriarch, who becomes the leader of the Western church, patriarch in the Eastern church in Constantinople. So that becomes the Byzantine church, the Eastern church. There's going to be other parts of this that kind of ran separately anyway. The Coptics down in Egypt. And you'll see at the top of the right-hand column here on page 7, that it's out of the Coptic church, out here in the desert, that we started seeing these monks. These three called them monks. We're called monks. It comes from Greek, which we'll talk about in a second half. We'll start out with that in just a second. Now look, we got the guy in Rome. He decides he's the guy. Then we start reinventing the wheel. Continue to reinvent the wheel. We've got some of these guys we can name and know what they did to change the nature of what they are as a leader, religious leader. We've got Innocent I, 402 to 417. He will establish himself, isn't that convenient, as the only universal leader of the church. Boom, I'm the guy. Why? Because I say so, that's why. Because I have that kind of authority. Because I say so, that's why. Then we have Leo I, not too many years later, who will announce the principle of papal supremacy. He will have a Roman emperor who will recognize his decisions have the force of actual law. Now, some of this, again, is about church-state connection. Some of that might be fine, and a lot of that, I think, is not. Now, again, the guy in Rome always has this theology that says, "Oh no, look, Peter was in Rome. You know, this is the guy. I'm just following after him. There's a line of us that comes from Peter, and then the last, and whoever comes after that. So there's a complex theology that comes with this. And then in the Eastern Church, we've got some of these other issues. Of course, there's always the Gnostic issues that we see in the New Testament. That's still around here for hundreds of years later. Then the issues about images. The Eastern Church says we don't want images, and we don't want to see a picture of Jesus and those kinds of things. So there's all kinds of divisions here taking place in the church. Now, again, if we're sticking with the western half of the empire, Western Europe, then it's the Catholic Church that we're going to stay focused on. When do I need to stop here? Is it about time for a break? Okay, we're breaking from now till when?